So we're going to be putting a lift kit of sorts on this, the 98 Legacy Brighton, and we're going to be putting some Outback struts on it. So this set here, the fronts are already assembled. They came off a 2000 Outback, and then we picked up some new struts for the rear, so we're gonna have to assemble those. Got a set of 98 Outback springs to go on there, and if you're gonna be doing this to one of these 95 to 99 Legacies like this, you are gonna want Outback struts from a 97 to 99 Outback. The 2000 and up rear suspension is completely different. They don't use a strut in the rear. The front struts from the 2000 to 2004 Legacies will work, aside from the bracket up here for the brake line. It's a little bit different, but we're also going to be doing a brake upgrade, so we'll end up using the lines from the newer car as well, so that won't end up mattering. Even if you're not doing that, you can always just zip tie the line onto this bracket. It'll still work fine. So we're going to start by compressing these springs and getting these rear struts assembled. Let's see. There we go.
And so for this, keep going a little more. I feel like we're getting this
might be pretty close at that point. Other way around.
Other way.
Yeah.
So it'd be like this, and then this thing will sit right here.
Yeah, you want to make sure, that part of the coil sits right in that little notch there on the strut.
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got plenty, because you want to make sure that it's...
Okay.
The coil is just lower than the top of the strut shaft right here. And then... Oh, and the rubber bushing.
Oh, the rubber bushing, yes.
Yeah, this guy here. Make sure that's seated down on the spring.
Okay.
And
I'll
then
just have this facing outward, and I'll just have this face outward.
And then these are, when you assemble them, they are left and right specific. So that's it. Yeah, I got a right hand, and there's an arrow pointing out, which means you want to line it up with the bracket here that's going to attach to your rear knuckle. So you want to get that part in line. And yep. So yeah, we've compressed the spring plenty to get down there. Oh, I just forgot about something else that we didn't do. There's usually a rubber bump stop and a boot that goes on here.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot we didn't.
We're not too.
Yeah,
too far.
we didn't throw those on.
I'll just pull this out.
I have some extras in here. And yeah, when you're assembling these, don't forget the bump stop and the dust boot. They could go down maybe just a little bit more. Okay. And they'll get kind of, even if you go too far, they end up they self-level, like as the suspension compresses.
Cool.
It'll just push it back up where it needs to be. Yep. I think it was on here where they mark.
Right hand.
Yep.
This is the right hand one. And this top is also the right hand.
Yeah, and these struts are also left and right specific, so make sure you check that you're putting the correct top mount with the correct strut. Oh, now it's going to start rotating the entire assembly. Because the strut is just going to spin inside of here.
Oh, I see.
So,
do we just get it?
Well, there's a few tricks that we can use to tighten these down.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't know if the set that I have goes big enough. I have these pass-through ratchets, but I think they only go to, yeah, it only goes to a 19. So the idea is you can like put that on there, then you can, so if you look, this has a spot for an Allen wrench to go.
Right.
So you can hold the strut shaft as you're rotating it.
I see, but we would need a 7/8 or
Yeah.
22.
22, yeah.
Okay.
The other trick that might work.
Is that what that Allen thing is for?
Yeah, that's why there's an Allen, like a hole for an Allen wrench to go in there.
Okay.
It's so that you can hold the strut shaft from rotating as you're tightening it, the bolt down. Because if you try to just tighten this bolt down right now, you're just going to spin the whole shaft, and it's never going to go anywhere. Sometimes a spark plug socket works, but this is a...
Oh, because it has the pass-through kind of built in too.
Yeah, but that's a 22 or 21 millimeter. So it's just a little bit off. You know what we might do is not use the hardware that they included.
Okay, sure.
Because their included hardware is kind of a dumb size. It's too big.
Right.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to not use the nut that it came with because it's too big. You can't get a socket around it and have it fit inside of this hole that you have to get into. The original hardware was usually a 17 millimeter or outer, you'd use a 17 millimeter socket. We're going to use these, which require a 19 millimeter, and these came off of...
And then we can use that pass-through.
Yeah, we can use a pass-through socket on these.
Cool.
So we'll use that. These nuts actually came from the bolts that would actually be down here. They would hold the strut to the knuckle.
Oh, nice.
That's what they are, so we'll use those. Okay, yeah, and now we can use this pass-through ratchet set. So that you can put, I think it's probably going to be like maybe a 6. Let's try a 6 millimeter Allen.
It is a 6.
Yep. So yeah, you can hold the strut rod from rotating as you're tightening it down.
And at what point, I guess as we kind of get tighter, we want to try to make sure this is pretty lined up, or?
Actually, no, we don't have to worry about it at all because you can get it as tight as you want to start, and because the strut rod can rotate inside of there, what we're going to have to watch out for is as we're loosening up the spring.
That's when
you want to make sure everything's in
line. Okay, gotcha. And just try to get this pretty tight.
Yeah, like just good and tight.
Yeah, I think that's
the torque spec is I think like 80 or something foot-pounds, but
I don't know if that was
I don't know.
80.
It's also a locking nut, so it shouldn't back off for any reason.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
that should be good.
As far as I can take it.
And then the other thing you want to check after you've tightened these down is make sure that there's no play where this top hat feels like it can move up and down on here. Sometimes if you don't have the right top hat or enough of a washer stacked in there, you'll tighten the nut down to here, but there'll be just play and it can slop around, and then what'll happen is when you're driving, you'll have this terrible clunking noise that'll just be coming from your back. From the rear suspension as this thing just rattles around in here. So definitely something to check there. All right, now we can back these guys off.
All right. I think it was this 22.
Or you can put the 1/2-inch drive inside of that.
The
square.
Genius. And so as I'm doing this, I guess I just want to, as it starts to come up, I'll be careful to
so you're going to just kind of be
up near the end,
watching this space in here as it's getting closer and closer to contacting the upper mount.
kind of just
Just
coming
kind
up
of go.
evenly.
Yeah, just a little bit on each side. All right, it's probably starting to kind of grab a little bit. Okay, so now we can
to the point where we need to.
Yeah, so now we'll align that upper mount so that it's
And like how precise? Like
you want it pretty close, because otherwise it's going to make it real difficult to line it up in the car.
Gotcha.
Because you got to get these 3 into the upper mount, or the
right
strut mount on the car.
Is that I see that there's about like a 5-degree difference between this arrow and this arrow.
Yeah, it's
Is this
kind of
one
telling
kind
you
of
to
the
get
more-
it. Yeah, like this is the arrow that you probably want to pay attention.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, you're lining it up with this bolt. Because
Gotcha,
this
gotcha,
bolt
gotcha.
on the car is in line with
Okay.
this mount down here. So that's really what you're looking for.
I see. Pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think that'll work. And I'll hold this as you back those off.
Okay.
Make sure that doesn't get pinched in there.
I guess I'll move a little bit that way.
You can kind of move it
Yeah.
a little bit once you slide this up into the into the car.
Okay.
It's just if you have to rotate it too much, you risk having the spring slide around down here on the base and not be in the correct alignment.
Right. I guess I shouldn't use that spot for leverage.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Good deal,
Got
yeah.
the rear struts assembled. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and measure the stock ride height, and then we'll compare it once we get.
So, I mean, I'll go a little further back
Yeah,
because
the
that
new
one's kind of
suspension.
mushed up.
Yeah.
But it looks like we're at.
So from the pinch rail,
It'll be about getting like 6 1/4.
yeah, looks like about 6 1/4.
Maybe slightly less, but yeah, about 6 1/4.
So this is it's with stock Legacy Brighton suspension. And we're gonna be
I'll
putting
measure it back here just to see if there's any variation or whatever.
yeah.
Oh,
And
this
the
is actually
rear-
like 6 5/8.
Okay, so slightly higher in the rear.
Yeah. Might go to the other side just to.
Yeah, we kind of get an average. 6.5, 6. Yeah, about 6 5/8, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about the same. on
Around
this side.
6 5/8. Okay. Yeah.
And the tires should be evenly inflated. Although I guess the camber
Oh yeah, in the
situation
rear.
might be like sort of making it very side to side. 6 flat almost.
6 inches. Okay. So it does sit a little higher in the rear currently.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
All right. So yeah, this car is actually the same one that we had to replace the ECU on because it got water damage. So a big part of why we're trying to do this budget lift, which is that's I guess what you'd call this. This is just a budget lift to try to turn a Legacy into more of an Outback. And another big part of the reason why we're doing it is, I'm not sure if it shows up in the video, but that wheel, the camber is way off. So it's likely,
Maybe if I run
yeah,
this straight.
you can see how big that gap is in between from the top to the bottom there. So this strut in the back is likely bent from when it went off the road and got stuck in the mud. So we need to replace.
I actually think it might have gotten bent from recovering it.
Oh,
it
when you're
kinda
getting towed
it was
out.
getting pulled backwards, and it kind of got like pulled. It was like at an angle, so it
Kind
just
of
kinda was
yanked
caught
that
on the
side.
lip. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to replace the rear struts anyways. So we figured we might as well give it a little bit of a lift while we're at it. And that'll hopefully keep it from getting stuck as easily next time. So we're gonna start with the rear.
And what would be a good? Is there a good jack point in there?
Can I
use the diff?
Yeah, so yeah, the diff is usually the best spot to pick the rear of the car up from. It's always a good solid spot. Yeah, I might have gotten itself sort of wedged on there. Yeah, just kick it.
Sorry.
Huh. It's gonna go anywhere. There we go.
Dang. Like this, I mean, this was sitting in the swamp, so
Oh yeah, so you definitely
probably
got
just
some rust.
rusted. Okay. Whew.
Yeah, it's
You can still
quite a mess in there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we get this off, just how bent it is.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So, and hopefully it's the strut that's bent and not other components,
like
the
the
knuckle or something.
swing arm. Okay.
Which, if it is that, oh, yes, I've got replacement parts
Okay.
for that too. Yeah, with the gun.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
And then we can just kind of pull this off.
Well, be careful because you do have your brake line still attached.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be in here.
Okay, I see. And that goes between the hub
And, oh good, somebody already took care of part of this for us.
Okay.
So we're going to have to modify the new struts.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you. We're going to cut a little notch in here.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise the way they want you to do it is to completely unbolt the brake line.
Oh, which
and
involves
slide it through, but then
rebleeding.
you have to rebleed it if you open the brake lines.
Right,
at all.
right. Okay.
So if you just cut a little notch in this bracket here, you can just slide it in and not have to worry about all that.
Okay. I see.
It's kind of, the newer ones, they finally just put a notch in there from the factory.
Right.
So you can
So like with
slide it in
an
and out.
angle grinder.
Yeah, we'll just cut it
Okay.
with an angled grinder.
Okay.
I don't know why the older ones were built this way, where they expect you to take the brakes
Right.
apart every time you want to change the struts. All the dirt packed in there is not going to make it easier, for sure. There you go. All right.
Yeah. Whew. Okay, and so now we can basically pull the hub, or
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much
Or it's like
released
pretty
at this
much
point.
free.
Now we've got to go up top here to the strut tower
inside.
and take those 3 bolts off of here. Right up here. So I'll pop this cover off right here. The tab
should
right
be
in
able
there.
to pull straight.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. And then there's the 3 bolts. I'll grab the gun. And be careful you don't lose those. They do have a tendency to want to fall
Oh,
into
and
here.
then it's a
And
nightmare.
then you're trying to find them because they
Yeah.
disappeared into the body panels.
That sounds rough. Cool. Okay. Basically, just gotta push it out to make it clear.
Yeah, so kind of, pull out on that. Yep. And then sometimes it helps to push this down into this like space in here,
Oh, I see.
and so that it'll drop down enough to get it to clear the strut tower.
Yeah. There we go.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Cool. Now we can.
Just replace it with one of these shiny new ones.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, and
we
this
can
is
also,
a cool time for it.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see now. This. Set this down. You can see how bent it is.
It's kind of like curved this
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, I don't know if that shows up quite the same on the camera, but if you compare it to the new one and how that one is nice and straight, and this has like a bend right about here. Yeah, you can see it a little bit.
Oh, I actually can see it. It's kind of like a little bit arched like this.
Yeah, so that's why
Okay.
that rear tire had so much more camber.
Right, because it's like...
It was cocked in right there.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you stand it up, you can tell like it barely even wants to
stay up.
It doesn't even want to stand up straight anymore because of how
I see.
you can really see how bent it is.
This one should stand up.
Because the new one will stand up on its own.
Totally.
Yeah, but this one,
yeah,
it's so bent it just wants to fall over.
Okay.
And then if you set them like side by side, you can get an idea of where the lift comes from. So you can see that this Outback one is, a good inch or so taller than the Legacy one.
I guess it's all coming from in here.
Yeah, that's primarily where the lift is coming from, is in that area. It's got a little notch in this bracket here that holds the brake line. If you don't do that, otherwise you're going to have to undo the brakes to feed it through here. And it's just a lot more work having to bleed the brakes after. Cut it on one edge or the other, and then we'll just take pliers and bend it over.
Okay.
And then we can slide the brake line in and bend it back.
Okay, cool. And basically in line with that edge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just right in line with that edge. All right. Yeah, that's it.
That fits basically.
Yeah, and that way you can just slide the brake line into there. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I should do it.
Let's do this one too.
Yeah. Might as well do them both right now.
Okay.
What we might also want to do is let's loosen this bolt down here.
Okay.
And that'll allow this to flop over this way.
Oh, okay.
A little easier.
And then
that'll give us more clearance.
Yeah, I think that'll help a lot. Okay.
Right there.
We actually do that.
Yeah, if you unbolt that bracket for the e-brake cable. The other thing we may need to disconnect though is the sway bar links over here.
Okay.
Because that's also limiting how far the suspension can fall.
Is it these guys?
No, this right here.
Oh, okay.
So if we pull this,
we'll just pull that.
Yeah,
Is that a 14?
that'll give us more room.
Do you think the little impact can do it?
It should be able to.
Yeah. That's totally good.
Okay. All right, now we'll get this lined up here. It's almost there. Just needs to go. Nope. There. All right. Okay.
Nice.
Now we can get those ones in.
What am I like pushing against?
Well, you're kind of fighting the suspension right now because it's dropped a lot lower than it normally is.
Okay.
So it's just all the bushings and everything that are under a bind right now. This is where sometimes putting a jack underneath this is necessary.
Okay.
See, if you push on it now, will it fall into place a little better? It's almost there. I'm going to take a little pressure off. I think I need to grab more on the edge of the drum.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like out.
That.
out here,
Okay.
so I got more leverage.
Gotcha. So it's pushing inward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's almost there. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
down into there, and then we can bend the other half of it back around. Almost there. There we go. Okay, well, we've got the rear back on the ground, and you can already see how much taller that sits now compared to the front. Yeah, it's definitely got a lot more clearance. Yeah, and now that it's on the ground, we can hook the sway bar end links back up. You always want to do though, hook those up with the weight of the car on the ground. So now we've got the rear done. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the front struts off and throw the new used outback struts on the front. If we were going to not be taking this all apart, take a grinder, cut a little slit right here, and then bend this out of the way so that you can get the brake line out.
Right.
And not have to open your braking system up. But we're not going to worry about that since we're replacing the brakes in the front anyways. Kind of tell it's around similar to the front, maybe another inch taller. So it's not a ton, but I think these springs may be slightly stiffer.
Okay.
So that'll also give it a little bit more height. But yeah, the majority, again, like the rear, the majority of your height is going to be coming from the fact that the spring perch sits up higher on the strut body. And the whole length of the strut is actually longer between these two. And that's where a lot of the length comes from as well.
Let's see. So this one has so this brake bracket is different?
Yeah, so the newer ones, the brake line actually bolts onto the strut instead of having that little clip that holds it.
So since that's the case, we could throw this in while we're waiting for the
because we'll just grab
brake
those
line
new.
to drain.
We'll grab the other brake lines off their car to match this. But that's on the later ones they finally realized that this setup of having you remove the brake line was probably stupid, so they made it.
Just have it bolt on.
Yeah, made it just a bolt
that's
on
smart.
setup. And that should be enough space to now get that aligned up. Get that aligned.
Totally.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So before we tighten those down all the way, let's go ahead and adjust this to full negative camber. So we're gonna want to see this part of the knuckle get pulled into the strut as far as possible.
Okay, I see.
And you're gonna want as much camber in the front as you can, because when you lift your car like this, it's going to cause it to have more positive camber than normal. So the best way to counteract that is just to set it up for the most negative camber. Otherwise, you're gonna get messed up tire wear, and it's gonna probably handle pretty crap. So I also went over this in the alignment video, but there's little degree marks on this bolt. And then there's a little tiny line right there on the strut. But there's, yeah, that little line on the strut. And then the bolt itself has these degree marks on it. And if you rotate it around so that all those little degree marks are towards the inboard of the car, that's basically the most negative camber you can have. And you can also watch the position of the knuckle in relation to the strut. And then before you tighten it down, if you also go ahead and push on the knuckle, you get just a little bit more negative camber as you tighten it down. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. So when you're looking at that bolt, you have the degree marks on the bolt here, and they line up with the lobe on this bolt. So as you're rotating it around, once all the marks are inboard of the car like this, that's pulled the knuckle in to the strut as far as it can go. Going from the single piston to dual piston.
Nice.
Calipers. So if you got a stuck rotor, you get a couple of these, use the same Subaru bolts that have like a 12mm head. I think these are the 8 by 125 thread. And they will thread right into these holes here. And then take that impact gun there with the 12mm socket. And then just crank those down in there. And then that'll push it right off. In conjunction with going from the single piston to dual piston, there's also a larger diameter rotor that we're going to be upgrading to, which is where a lot of the additional braking power is going to come from, is just a larger rotor so you get more leverage on it. And you can kind of tell it's not a lot, but if you line them up, it's all around another, you know, 1/2 inch diameter, 1/4 inch on each side, so about a 1/2 inch diameter bigger. And yeah, that gives a pretty good idea of how much bigger that is. And yeah, this rotor is rusty, but once you use the brakes a few times, that is just surface rust from it sitting for a while, and that'll all come off pretty quick. So this is how you do an impact wrench without an impact. Okay, so yeah, I've got the new the Outback suspension on all 4 corners. Got the upgraded brakes on here, and it's looking pretty good. Definitely sitting a lot higher. So let's go ahead and measure and see what the difference is now. So I think we were at about 6 or 6.5 inches.
I think it was about, a little over 6.5. Okay, and it's about 9 3, a little over 9 3/4.
Okay.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah,
over
that's
3-inch lift.
good. Yeah, a good bit of extra lift. So yeah, that's Outback struts.
Closer to 6 inches in the front.
And then also we've gone to quite a bit larger wheel and tires. So the old setup was 185 70/14s, and these are a 225 60 16.
About 9 5/8.
9 5/8 in the front. Probably around 1.5 inches from the struts and another 1.5 inches from the larger diameter tires, giving us around an extra 3 inches of clearance. And it definitely looks a lot more filled out with these bigger wheels and tires. They sit pretty flush with the fenders, which is nice. Well, now we'll have to go take it out on some trails and see how it does.
Yeah, for sure.
Meanwhile,
Well, that'll take care of that rattling noise.
Yeah, that'll be nice.